Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine getting paid to, rat out crypto miners.
Mm.
That's actually happening in Iran right now. I mean, we see government stepping in on things, but
Mhm.
offering cash to report your neighbors, maybe. It's definitely a surprising mix of tech, economics, and some serious government policy.
It is. And what's really striking, I think, is how directly it links this sort of abstract idea of crypto mining to something very concrete, the stability of their power grid.
Exactly. A real-world problem.
Yeah, it grounds the whole discussion.
So what's the deep dive today? We're looking at Iran's, well, pretty novel approach to tackling unauthorized crypto mining. Apparently, it's putting a huge strain on their electricity.
Right, and that's before you even factor in the weather.
Oh, yeah, this crazy heat wave they're having, hitting, 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Just brutal.
Yeah,
So the situation's become critical.
definitely pushing things over the edge.
Our sources for this are a couple of Cointelegraph articles, both from August 15th, 2024. One specifically on Iran and this mining crackdown. The other looks at Bitcoin ETFs, which we'll get to.
Right.
So our mission here is to figure out, why Iran is doing this, how big this illegal mining problem actually is, and then maybe connect it to broader crypto trends, using those Bitcoin ETFs as a sort of lens.
Makes sense. And the immediate question is why now? I mean, the heat wave is obviously a trigger, right?
Mm.
Pushing an existing problem into a full-blown crisis.
Seems like it. That extreme heat is the immediate pressure point. But the CEO of Tavernier, that's Iran's state power company, he's being very clear. He's saying illegal crypto mining is making their power problems significantly worse.
Right.
And they're not just asking people to stop, they're offering money. 1 million tamen, which is about 24 US dollars for reporting these illegal operations.
$24. Doesn't sound like a fortune, maybe, but
Yeah, but
but as a government incentive, it signals they're taking the economic drain, the resource drain, very seriously.
right. And the Tavernier CEO, Mustafa Rajabi Mashadi, he didn't mince words. He talked about opportunistic individuals, people exploiting subsidized electricity, even public networks, to mine crypto illegally.
Using cheap power.
Exactly. And here's where it gets, well, really interesting. He says this illegal mining has caused an abnormal surge in electricity use.
Abnormal surge. Okay, that sounds significant.
Yeah, leading to significant disruptions and problems for everybody else.
So not just a small drain, it's actively overloading the system.
Seems so. And the numbers Mashadi gave are kind of eye-opening. They've reportedly found 230,000 illegal crypto mining setups.
230,000.
Yeah. And get this all together, they're using up to 900 megawatts of power.
Wow. How much is that in real terms?
Well, he put it this way. It's the same amount of electricity used by an entire Iranian province, a province with 1.4 million residents.
Okay, that comparison, that really hits home. That's not a niche tech issue anymore. That's major infrastructure impact.
Right, and it's not like they're all hidden in some secret bunkers either. There was another report from Iran International saying authorities often find these illegal mines in places like schools, even mosques.
Schools and mosques.
Yeah, places that often get free or heavily subsidized electricity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're tapping into the cheapest possible power source. That really underscores the economic incentive, doesn't it? Because mining is energy hungry.
Which, yeah, maybe we should quickly explain that for listeners who aren't deep into crypto. Mining, especially for what's called proof of work, like Bitcoin, it uses specialized computers, really powerful ones.
Right, solving these complex math puzzles, essentially, cryptographic puzzles.
And when they solve one, they get rewarded with new cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in this case. It's how the whole system is secured and transactions are confirmed.
And that puzzle solving, it runs constantly, 24/47, and it just consumes a lot of electricity.
Yeah.
That's fundamental to how proof of work operates.
Okay, so Iran. Huge illegal mining problems, sucking up massive energy, made worse by this killer heat wave. Got it.
Okay.
Now, let's pivot. Because the same day this news broke, August 15th, there was also news about something that feels, I don't know, almost worlds away. Bitcoin ETFs in the U.S.
Yeah, it's an interesting contrast. You've got Iran dealing with the raw energy side of crypto mining, the physical infrastructure strain.
Right.
And then in the U.S., you're looking at how established finance is engaging with Bitcoin through these regulated investment products. Two very different ends of the spectrum.
Totally. So here's the thing. Bitcoin's price, it actually dropped in the second quarter of 2024, fell about 14.5%.
Wow.
But these Bitcoin ETFs, the funds that let people invest in Bitcoin without holding the coins directly and the big institutional investors, they mostly didn't flinch. They held on or even bought more.
Which is pretty telling, isn't it? That kind of behavior from large institutions often suggests a longer-term view. They're less likely to be spooked by short-term price swings.
Exactly what Matt Hugan at Bitwise found. He's their chief investment officer. He looked at the SEC filings, the Form 13Fs that big managers have to file quarterly.
Right, showing their holdings.
Yeah. And his analysis showed 66%, two-thirds of institutional investors either held steady or increased their Bitcoin ETF shares during that Q2 dip.
66%.
Mm.
And digging into that.
Well, he said 44% actually increased their holdings, only 21% cut back, which, as Hugan put it, is a pretty good result considering the price drop.
Yeah, that suggests continued belief, continued conviction in Bitcoin, even when the market's shaky.
And here's another interesting bit. The number of these institutions holding Bitcoin ETFs, it actually went up by 30% between Q1 and Q2.
30% increase in holders.
Yeah. So more big players are getting into the game, even without a massive price surge happening. What do you make of that?
I mean, it suggests the market's maturing, maybe, that these institutions are getting more comfortable including Bitcoin in their strategies, not just treating it as like a purely speculative gamble.
And Hugan used that phrase, the crypto slang. He said these institutions acted like diamond hands.
Diamond hands, right. Holding strong.
Yeah, basically means they didn't panic sell when the price dropped, which, sometimes you see more with individual retail investors reacting more emotionally.
That's a good point. It highlights the different approaches, different time horizons between institutional money and maybe some retail traders.
And who are these diamond hands? Hugan mentioned some big hedge funds, Millennium, Schonfeld, Boothbay, Capula, but he stressed it wasn't just them.
Right, it's broader than that.
Yeah, advisors, family offices, other institutional types. It shows the appeal is widening.
That diversity is key, I think. It means Bitcoin ETFs aren't just a niche product for hedge funds. They're drawing in a wider range of established financial players, embedding Bitcoin more deeply into the traditional system.
He even pointed out this kind of funny juxtaposition in the filings, seeing a giant, Millennium listed right alongside the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah. Shows you the range.
It really does. Now, just to loop back briefly to the mining side, remember the Bitcoin halving back in April?
Oh, yeah. Cut the miner rewards in half.
Right. And that put the squeeze on some publicly traded miners in the U.S. Some were reportedly even looking at shifting towards, artificial intelligence stuff. Why would they do that?
Well, the halving basically doubles the cost to mine a Bitcoin.
Right.
Lower reward for the same energy and work. So if your operation isn't super efficient, suddenly it's much less profitable.
Okay.
So exploring other things like AI, which also needs a lot of computing power but might offer different revenue streams, starts to make sense for some.
Gotcha. And, it's worth mentioning, the Iran article also noted that Venezuela banned crypto mining entirely back in May.
Right, they did.
Same reason cited. Too much energy consumption, straining their power grid. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Very familiar. And it shows a different path, right? Venezuela goes for an outright ban while Iran's trying this. Incentivized reporting thing, different governments, similar problem, different solutions.
Okay, so let's try and tie these threads together. Iran, paying bounties to stop illegal mining that's crippling their grid. U.S. major financial institutions doubling down on Bitcoin ETFs, showing long-term belief despite volatility. What's the connection? Or is it just two separate worlds colliding?
I think there's a definite connection. Both stories, in very different ways, highlight how crypto is having, real tangible impacts and becoming more integrated.
How so?
Well, Iran's power crisis throws the energy and infrastructure impact of proof-of-work mining into really sharp relief. It's undeniable.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the ETF growth shows Bitcoin gaining acceptance within mainstream finance, even with those energy debates swirling around.
Right. And you see the different government reactions. Iran's cash rewards, Venezuela's ban. Nobody seems to have the single answer for how to deal with crypto's energy use.
Exactly. There's no global consensus yet. And that institutional investment, the diamond hands, it does signal, I think, a maturing market for Bitcoin itself. These players seem to see it as more than just a quick flip. They're looking longer term.
But it still feels like this core tension is just sitting there, right? The massive energy draw causing real problems in places like Iran versus this growing financial adoption through things like ETFs.
Absolutely. And that tension, it really underscores the need for, innovation in the crypto space itself. Things like more energy-efficient ways to reach consensus on blockchains, addressing these sustainability concerns is becoming crucial.
So wrapping this up, Iran is basically crowdsourcing enforcement against illegal crypto mining because their power grid is absolutely buckling under the strain. It's a huge national problem.
A vivid example of the real-world consequences.
Yeah. And at the exact same time, you have big money in the US increasing their bets on Bitcoin through ETFs, suggesting they believe in its long-term value, despite the price swings and these, very real energy debates.
The key takeaway, I think, is just how much energy some types of crypto mining demand and the serious impact that can have on national infrastructure, like we're seeing so clearly in Iran.
Which leaves us with a final thought, something for you, the listener, to mull over. We're seeing such different global reactions to crypto mining rewards, bans, regulation, and at the same time, increasing institutional buy-in. What does all this tell you about where crypto regulation might be headed globally? And maybe more fundamentally, how will crypto's future be shaped by this constant push and pull with energy needs, with sustainability? What role is energy efficiency going to have to play in how blockchain tech evolves from here?